Hey, what is going on, you common core fish? Today, I'm going to be showing off my first take on Dragapult EX in the Stellar Crown format. I am going to be posting this list over on my Metafy group, so if you have any interest in discussing this deck with me further, asking me questions about it, or asking me questions about anything PokemonTCG related in general, you get access to be able to do that with the Tier 1 subscription. The higher subscriptions, Tier 2, will give you access to matchup breakdown videos for all the lists I post over on the Metafy group, except for the Dragapult list, because I haven't really played with it in the Stellar Crown format yet, so I'm not gonna have that much information on matchups. So after I've actually spent some time with the Dragapult deck in the Stellar Crown format, I'll come at y'all with an updated build over on the Metafy group with a matchup breakdown video. You'll also get access to meta breakdown videos. I have one up over there going into the Baltimore Regional Championship, just giving my thoughts on where the meta is headed and what I like the most currently in the meta. And those I'll be putting out every 2 to 3 weeks, kind of just depending on how much the meta evolves. And I'll probably be coming out with one in a couple weeks after we've had Stellar Crown for a little while, pre-Dortmund regionals, so that's what you can get access to in the Tier 2. Tier 3, I offer a deck doctor tier here where you can send me a deck list once a month, and then I'll play with that deck on stream, make changes, and then send back to you what I end up with, and you can ask me more questions on my changes from there. And then I also offer a gameplay review here in Tier 4, where once a month you can send me a gameplay, I'll review it, send it back to you, going over everything I think you made mistakes on, but as well just kind of talking through the general process of that game, that gameplay, what you want to be thinking about, turn to turn, action to action. So that's what you can expect over on my Metafy group. Be sure to go check it out. There will be a link in the description, of course. All right, let's get into the Dragapult build. I'm excited for Dragapult in the Stellar Crown format. I was pretty underwhelmed by it and played with it barely at all up to this point in the previous formats, but there's some big new upgrades coming in from Stellar Crown. Anyone who doesn't know what Dragapult does, well, actually, honestly, I wouldn't be that surprised if there's a couple of you, because this is not really like a top meta deck. It never really has been. Well, most of you probably know what Dragapult does, but just in case there's someone out there who doesn't, it's a stage 2, 320 HP. The first attack for a colorless energy, Jet Headbutt, does 70 damage, and then for a fire and a psychic, you do 200, and then spread 60 damage counter to your opponent's special one. Actually, honestly, probably all of you know what it does, but not because you've played against Dragapult decks for sure, but you've definitely played against Regidrago at this point, I'm sure. So 2 Dragapult EX, 2 of the stage 1, the Dracloak with a super powerful recon directive ability. Look at the top 2 cards, take one, put the other one on the bottom of the deck. And then, of course, we got 4 Dreepy to evolve up into. This is a Pidgeot EX build, so we have a 2-2 Pidgeot in here, or 2-0-2, I should say. Now we get into the supporting cast here. We have a 1 of Cleffa for that early game draw support, 1 of Luminion V. We do play a 4 Shieldstone. This is an Arven build. Plenty of Ultra Balls to help us find it as well. 1 of Pheasantipity, broken card, maybe the most broken card from Shrouded Fable, kind of insane. Why wouldn't we play it? Well, the reason I've thought about not playing it is like I don't want the liability of it on my bench, but in some of the more aggressive matchups like the Raging Bolt matchup, that extra draw power is probably worth putting the liability in play over. Other matchups like the mirror match and stuff like that, we'll probably try and avoid it, but those will be slower matchups where we can kind of take our time and we don't need that aggressive draw power to be able to keep up. 1 Halucha for a little bit of damage spread. I don't have the Dusknoir in this build. Didn't really love the idea of it. It's a lot to set up, and especially with how aggressive the format feels like it is right now, I don't know if we're going to be able to go out of our way to actually set it up and get real true value out of it, so I don't currently include it, but I do include some amount of damage spread here in the flying entry from the Halucha, and then a Manaphy in here as well. Now, you maybe noticed, I'm sure, I don't play any Radiant Pokemon, and the reason I don't play any Radiant Pokemon is because I don't play any Switch cards or like pivot cards. I don't have Turo. I mean, I guess we could play Penny. There's no reason to play Penny. No Switch, no Turo. There's another big one I'm thinking of, but I can't actually put my finger on it. But yeah, we don't play any Switch cards, and I was like, all right, I don't really want to play any pivot cards. I want to focus on being straightforward and consistent. And with that in mind, I can't really afford to play the Radiant Alakazam that has 2 retreat cost, or the Radiant Charizard that has 3. Now, depending on how the meta actually plays out, we might really want to include one of those. And at that point, I would also include some kind of switch card, so the Pokemon doesn't just get stuck in the active and we lose because our opponent is able to take advantage of that. So of course we got our 4 Rare Candy, our 4 Buddy Buddy Poffin, our 4 Ultra Ball, and then I also have a Nest Ball, a more aggressive way to help be able to find our Pheasantipity specifically. We can go like Arven for Nest Ball for Pheasantipity. I have a 1 of Feather Ball. The Feather Ball, I'm actually not sure if this should even be in here, to be honest. I like the idea of having a Terra Orb in here. The Terra Orb is a card we're getting in the Surging Spark set that lets us search for a Terra Pokemon, so we can search for Dragapult with it specifically. The Feather Ball, we can only really find the Pidgeot EX or the Cleffa. Now, the reason it's good is that because it makes our turn 2 combo a lot cleaner and a lot easier to get Candy Pidgeot, Candy Dragapult, because we don't have to Ultra Ball twice potentially. One Ultra Ball for the Pidgeot, one Ultra Ball for the Dragapult, or depending on what we have in our hand and what we actually have access to, we might not want to Ultra Ball at all. And this allows us to go Arven for Feather Ball, or just have the Feather Ball in hand, which is then just a one-card play, not play a card, discard 2 cards to get one of our Pokemon to pull off the Candy Candy combo. One of Heavy Ball in here as well. Got a decent amount of powerful one-ofs, and the reason I like the Heavy Ball a little bit more than just, you know, being able to have access to like Pheasantipity or the Hawlucha is Dreepy is not only our way to get to Dragapult, but because of the Dracloak is part of our consistency draw power engine as well. So getting like 3 to 4 Dreepy in play is really, really nice. So pricing a Dreepy kind of sucks because we do ideally want to have like a bunch of Dreepy set up and also ideally 2 Dracloak set up and play the whole game as well until maybe the end of the game where one of them does become a Dragapult. And to do that, to set up all the Dracloaks and the Dragapult EXs, we need a lot of Dreepy, so pricing a Dreepy sucks. Heavy Ball helps us not price Dreepy. 2 Earthen Vessel help us find our energy. This might be a little bit overkill, but 2 in there for now. For the Gust, or for the final items here, we have 2 Counter Catcher as a form of Gust. And then for the Pokemon Recovery, I have 1 of Night Stretcher and 1 of Super Rod. I like the idea of the Night Stretcher as like a more efficient way to get maybe our final Dragapult. And I do only have 2 Dragapults in here. We probably only need to set up 2, maybe 3 throughout a game. So it's nice to have a way to more aggressively recover Dragapult or get a Dragapult out of our deck, or I guess out of our discard pile in this situation. Like we could Arven for Ultra Ball, but that's pretty costly, especially at the end of the game if we're getting Iono'd. Being able to go Arven for Night Stretcher, on the other hand, is pretty efficient. It's just play the item card, get the Pokemon. So I like the idea of the Night Stretcher instead of extra Dragapult EXs, but I could honestly see putting a third one of these in here as well. We are an Arven build, of course, for Arven. 3 Iono, 1 Boss's Orders, 1 Briar, new supporter card. If our opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining and we take a knockout with one of our Terra Pokemon, then we draw an extra prize card for that KO. So it can be a great way to make some comebacks in the game. This does combo very well with Dusknoir. I am aware of that. But once again, I think this is still probably worth playing without the inclusion of the Dusknoir. And then Crispin. This is the first of 2 potentially big improvements for the Dragapult deck. Crispin allows us to search our deck for an energy card, put it into our hand, and then search our deck for a different type of basic energy card and attach it to one of our Pokemon. So we can search out a fire energy, attach a Psychic to our Dragapult, and then attach that fire energy from hand for a turn to the Dragapult, setting up a Dragapult in 1 turn from 0 energy to 2 energy. This is one of the big cards. The biggest inclusion into the deck, though, to help for that turn 2 consistent attack from the Dragapult is the new Terra Tool card. It provides 1 of energy, any energy type, to the Terra Pokemon it is attached to. And the reason this is a little bit better, a little bit more consistent, especially in the early game than something like the Neo Upper Energy that we've had for a little while, is you can Arven for it. We're not restricted to having to use our Quick Search or our Forest Sealstone search. I haven't showed the Forest Sealstone yet. It's in there, though. To find our Neo Upper Energy, we can just Arven for a tool card, which happens to be this tool card. We attach that to our Dragapult alongside a Fire or Psychic Energy, and then we're attacking turn 2 way more consistently than we were in the past with that Neo Upper Energy. I also have a Forest Sealstone combo with our Luminian. I don't have the Rotom in here right now. I definitely think we want to be choosing second with this deck overall, and I could see for those matches, for those situations where our opponent chooses second, or there probably is some matchups out there where we do want to choose first, the Rotom would be nice. Not playing a very heavy nest ball count though right now, so I'm not feeling super confident in the idea of the inclusion of that. So currently just rocking the Luminian as our access to being able to utilize the Forest Sealstone. We also have a Rescue Board in here. It's a pretty big deal for getting the Cleffa in the active on the turn 1, especially if we want to attach for turn 2 a Dreepy. If we open like a Pidgey, we can go Arven for Buddy Buddy Poffin plus the Rescue Board. Buddy Buddy Poffin for a Dreepy and a Cleffa. Attach the Rescue Board to the Pidgey, retreat the Pidgey into the Cleffa, and then if we have an energy that we can attach with turn, we can attach it to the Dreepy instead of hard retreating our Pidgey into the Cleffa. So the Rescue Board, really, really good. Effectively like +1 energy attachment, but also we might be in a situation where we just have no energy in our hand, but we still want to get our active into our Cleffa. The Rescue Board also does that for us. All right, I got a couple interesting tools here at the end. I got the Gravity Stone. If it's attached to our active Pokemon, it increases our opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost by 1, or I believe it's both Pokemon. It increases ours and theirs. Now, the reason we play this is for some late game comeback potential through the Dragapult. Now, the Dragapult deck in general, we're usually making a comeback. We're not hitting that hard. We're only doing 200 damage to our opponent's active Pokemon, so it's really not that much. We are spreading that 6 damage counters that we definitely make use of as games progress, but we're usually coming from behind. We can be in situations where we're effectively winning the game before our opponent. We don't always have to like hope our opponent whiffs for a turn to win games, but because of like how we're spreading damage and stuff like that, we're usually not drawing prize cards super aggressively, and this can help us set up those big combo turns. The main combo you can pull off with the stone is up against Pheasantipity or something like that on our opponent's bench. So if our opponent has like a Pheasantipity on our bench and we got a Dragapult set up, we can attach the stone to our Dragapult, and then we can counter catcher up the Pheasantipity, play Iono, reducing their hand size really low. Then we punch the Pheasantipity for 200 damage, not knocking it out so they don't get the draw power of the Pheasantipity, spread some damage to the bench. And let's say we're up against like a Regidrago. Next turn, we can go Boss's Orders, up a Ogerpon off the bench that we spread damage to, and then attack with Dragapult, knocking out the Ogerpon and the Pheasantipity in the same turn. And the reason the stone is such a big part of that combo is it increases the Pheasantipity's retreat cost, further reducing the chance that they actually pull off a very good turn. Now that not only do they have to make sure they have an attacker set up on their side of the field, they also have to be able to retreat that Pheasantipity, which we're trying to trap in the active with the stone. Another interesting card I got in here is the EXP share, and I'm theorizing this should be pretty good up against really, really aggressive decks. Now, theoretically, depending on how we draw and what happens, we can actually chain like triple Dragapult attack in a row alongside this EXP share. So let's say we go second, we go for our initial setup. We are definitely like wanting to choose second, like I mentioned. We get I don't know, playing up against Raging Bolt. They Raging Bolt knock out our Cleffa or whatever other Pokemon we have, and then we go turn 2, Candy Dragapult, Tool card, plus our energy for turn, 200 damage, spread damage to the bench. And then our opponent return knocks us out. And then we could go Crispin, accelerate energy to our next Dragapult, plus attach for turn. And then we attach the EXP share to a bench Dracloak. And then we attack with Dragapult for turn, once again hitting, spreading damage, yada yada. Then our opponent knocks out the Dragapult, triggers the EXP share. 1 energy goes from the Dragapult to the Dracloak with the EXP share. And then we attach for turn again on the following turn. And then we chain 3 Dragapult attacks in a row through the power of the EXP share. So I really like the idea of the EXP share, especially up against like those more aggressive matchups. In like the mirror match, we'd probably never use this. Maybe we'd get some value out of it, but against stuff like Raging Bolt and stuff like that, I think there is a lot of potential there. And then for the energy count, pretty simple. Got a 3/3 here, 3 fire, 3 psychic, and I have a 1 Collapse Stadium here to help remove liabilities from our board. A damaged Dragapult, although that's pretty unlikely. It's really hard to set these things up to begin with. I don't know if we want to be collapsing them away, but Luminion or Pheasantipity if we put it in play early and more aggressively, and then want to get rid of it in the late game, or even the Pidgeot. Sometimes at the end of the game, the Pidgeot could even be a liability, where maybe our Dragapult itself is not. They can get to the 280, can't get quite to that 320, something like a Tina attack in the Regidrago deck. They might have that problem to get to that 320. Okay, that's it. That's my first take on Dragapult in the Stellar Crown format. I'm sure a ton of y'all hate it. Whenever I work on a deck like this, there's always like a ton of people who are super opinionated on stuff like Dragapult, I feel like, so I don't care. Let's go ahead and let's jump into a game with the deck, and I'll show y'all how it runs. All right, just about all shuffled up here, and as always, we won the coin flip. We're going second here. Try and set up for that turn 2 Dragapult. Give ourselves the best odds of that happening. We got 7 draw here, and we've got pretty decent start. No complaints. Dreepy, way to retreat it. Hopefully go for that Cleffa. Could also play the Ultra Ball here to draw a little bit more, but we'll see what our top deck is. Oh, it is the Crystal. Okay. So, start with that Arven. Gonna go ahead and get ourselves a rescue board, I think, alongside a Buddy Poffin. We need to get Cleffa and Pidgey. There's Pidgey, there's Cleffa. See if the rescue board's in here. If we have to go for the hard retreat, we can. Did I miss it? I think it is prized this time around. Unfortunate. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, so grab these 2. Buddy Poffin grabs these 2. And I think we probably should play the Ultra Ball here just to like thin out the hand. We have another Dreepy we can bench. We can attack rescue board active. Fire energy also probably to the active, actually, because if we attach it to this Dreepy and then they KO this one, we can't put the crystal there. So fire here, and then I almost want to like Ultra Ball Iono Briar. And actually in this situation, I would even be aggressive and like put that on the Dreepy probably. And I think, let me see if 4 Seal Stones in here. It is. I think I would honestly just grab Luminion to hold for the next turn. It really depends on what our opponent is playing and what they're actually threatening here. What we'd want to grab. Like if we were up against a deck that could use Kyurem here, we would maybe want to go ahead and grab Manaphy. But because we don't really know what they're playing here, I'm going to go like this instead. And then we get a draw 6 with Cleffa. We are drawing 1 less card, but guaranteeing the Luminion in the hand with 4 Seal Stone in the deck here, I feel like is probably the stronger play. And the draw is kind of insane. All right, so we pass over to our opponent. They would run through their stuff. They'd knock out our Cleffa. I'm sure our Cleffa is gone here. We'll push up Pidgey, draw for turn into the Dragapult. Honestly, wait, we don't even have to use the Luminion here, I don't think. We got the... Oh, no, I think we still do, actually. So Buddy Poffin. We're going to grab some more Dreepies here. Maybe we would grab the Pidgey here. Probably not. Probably just the Dreepy here, to be honest. And then we're going to go back in, of course. All right, so we got Candy. Pidgeot. Oh, no, wait. Actually, that's it. Yeah, quick search. Boom. Get another candy. Now, it depends how far we'd want to go this turn, but I don't see a reason why I would want to put Luminion in play, to be honest. So I think it would just be... We didn't set up any Dracloaks, which is kind of a bummer. And that would be something we could do here, to be honest, would be to set up a Dracloak. But, I mean, I'm kind of down with this. Boom, Candy or Dragapult. And we definitely would want to attack with the one with the tool card just to get it out of the way and get the value out of it. Our opponent could play Jamming Tower or Lost Vacuum or who knows, to be honest. They can make it pretty annoying for us to potentially be able to utilize that. And then, boom, there we go. Turn 2, 200. We also could have got Luminion involved. We didn't even use a supporter this turn. We could have got Counter Catcher. We could have got Iona. We could have got Boss. Setting up Dracloaks would have been the only other thing to do here, possibly, I feel like. So we could have thrown that down. Maybe grabbed Iono, put a Force Seal Stone here, played Iono, and then just try to get as many Dracloaks set up as possible. So we could have done something like that, and then Force Seal Stone could grab Dracloak, just get that set up, or even could play towards the Collapse Stadium as well. But I think like just holding these three like this isn't terrible. Get off our attack with Dragapult. Although our follow-up on next turn is a little bit weird, but of course it's like super matchup, super situational dependent. So how aggressive we'd want to be here really depends on the situation. And it's a solitaire game here. So hope you all enjoyed it. Catch you on the next one.